Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Art of Female Muscle podcast, devoted to dealing with competitive women's bodybuilding and women's physique. I'm excited because I finally have a second episode. It's only taken me, 5 months to get this set up with all the adulting that I've had to do. I'm delighted to have as my guest IFBB women's physique or women's bodybuilding pro, Brittani Parish. Let me get her on here and set her here. Welcome, Brittani. Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming on as a guest.
Of
Great to see you.
course.
So,
Happy to be here.
yeah. So, I'm delighted to have you here. I've heard we were just talking a while ago about all the flooding that's going on in Texas, and you said it's just now starting to hit you guys, but it's not as bad, which is good to hear. I mean, so, and
Yeah,
that's,
thankfully I live in northern, DFW area, so I'm quite a ways away from the 20 plus foot flooding that's going on in central Texas. But um, I've got some family that are friends and family that live in that area. Thankfully they're okay, but it is much more harsh down there.
well, I'm glad though that it's avoiding your immediate or not as bad for your immediate family.
Yes.
Um, and just to start off, I've gotten some of the research that I did from the other podcasts you've done. You said that you've always been an athlete and you've always been in the weight room. What were some of the sports that you competed in when you were younger?
So I played softball since I was 4. I was very competitive in that sport. I played select ball for about, I'd say, 9 years. I played ball in high school, but I did have my daughter when I was 16, and at that point, I kind of had to choose where I was going to go if I was going to pursue going to school to play softball, which is what, I initially had planned to do, or if I was going to stay home and raise my daughter. And I chose the latter. I stayed home and raised my daughter, who is 18 now, which is just mind boggling.
I
Yeah.
bet. So now you also said that you started hardcore weight training specifically for powerlifting at the age of
Oh,
14.
yes.
Really,
So,
really young. Now, what out of all of the other athletic opportunities that you had out there, why powerlifting out of all of those?
well, as the one of the coaches on the football team said, "You're strong as an ox. You're corn fed," and I was like, "I don't know what that means, but okay." Um, and I was one of, I think, 3 girls on our Burleson High School powerlifting team. It was brand new. We didn't even have any funding from the school. It was completely booster club donation funded. I loved it though, and I did learn some of the foundations of lifting in that time. I don't know if some of it was correct looking back, but I had a good foundation at that time. And it's when I fell in love with the weight room, because I would go in there and I would lift with all the football guys. And I realized that I was quite strong for a woman, or however you want to say that, just quite strong as a person.
So now you'd said here, you also said your football coach was the one who convinced you to make the switch from powerlifting to bodybuilding, and that I guess occurred at 25.
Well, it wasn't my football coach. It was my powerlifting coach. He
Oh,
is
okay.
actually the one who told me. And the reason being is because at the time, my best friend had just made the switch and competed in her first bodybuilding show. And I watched her entire transformation, and I kind of was just very intrigued by it. And it looked like just a totally different realm than what I was used to, because I was used to just, eat big, lift big. And I was essentially maxing out most of the time I was going into the gym. And I was really only working out 3 or 4 days a week, but my workouts were just, the intensity was, very high compared to traditional working out. But then whenever I switched over to bodybuilding, I realized that it was just as intense, just kind of in a different way.
Hmm. Now, when you made the switch to bodybuilding from powerlifting, was there anything that surprised you about the bodybuilding lifestyle that was different from powerlifting that you weren't expecting?
Um, yes. Yeah, I think I was going initially when I went into it, I thought that there was going to be the camaraderie and like the closeness that I experienced in the powerlifting federations and things like that. But No, bodybuilding is very much a solo sport. And I'm not saying I haven't made some good friends along the way, but it's not quite like powerlifting. I mean, with powerlifting, I knew everybody. We would train together. There was a lot, there was just like a big family, you know. But with bodybuilding, and I don't really know why that is, but I just haven't had quite the same experiences.
Have you noticed that same, I guess, standoffishness on the pro ranks as opposed to the amateur ranks, or is
Well,
it better than it was,
I
or is
don't
it?
really know that I have much to say yet because I haven't competed in as a pro yet. You know, when I turned pro, I had to take a hiatus because I had to have emergency surgery, both for cervical cancer and for my revision of my cage in my back.
Yeah, I saw that I saw that you had had a bad spinal injury requiring a 360 spinal fusion, and
Hmm.
I was wondering what exactly happened with that. So it was like it wasn't necessarily a training accident. It was because of a
No, no.
pre-existing medical condition. Okay.
Yes, yes, sir. So, I mean, now who's to say that it wasn't compounded because of the lifting? I mean, I can't really completely dismiss that, but it really wasn't directly caused by anything I was doing. It's because I have an inherited disease, degenerative joint disease in my spine
Hmm.
and my hips, and so my lower lumbar. When they looked at the scan, they could see that L3 through S1 were affected, but the main ones that were like completely collapsed and essentially cut off my sciatic nerve, it was around L5 through S1. So they had to go in and kind of stabilize around those vertebra and create a little titanium cage to hold my spine in place and not let those joints collapse on one another because I didn't have any discs left, nothing. I didn't have any of the cushion between them, so it was just a lot of bone on bone and grinding, and I had a lot of scar tissue built up, and it was a nightmare. But I'm much better now.
Now, when exactly did this occur? Was this in the midst of your bodybuilding, or was
Yes,
this
yeah. So
okay?
my
So
what? Hold on one second. Sorry.
okay.
What's up, Becky?
And I have
Hi.
Say hi. This is Mila. This is my youngest.
Aw. Hi, Mila.
Hey, mommy's on. What do you need?
can I take a shower or a bath?
Yeah, in just a minute, okay? Let me come get you in a few minutes. Okay, thank you. Shut mommy's door. Sorry.
That's okay. I had my own spinal fusion not too long ago. It was an ADC. It was not as extreme as yours. It was an ACDF surgery. So,
Oh, okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't as bad, but it's like I understand. I get it.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
I've got in some of your history here. You started in women's physique, but then you
Hmm.
discovered you put on muscle real easy and quickly, and you like being big. So then you
Yeah.
said you switched. So then you switched to WBB. Now, why would you not stay in WPD? Because I know other girls who, in my humble opinion, have already physique wise made the transition to
Hmm.
WBB without actually jumping ship. It's like and there, some of them apparently give the excuse that, or not the excuse, but just the reason that they don't want to is because there are a lack of opportunities on WBB as opposed to WPD. So why not stay in WPD if there were more opportunities? Or is it
I
just
am
because
not.
it's size?
I'm not completely against going to WPD at this rate. If I'm just being honest with you, I've thought a lot about it. But the look that I have in my mind for how I want to look, and I mean, I'm not even there yet. Like I'm still in my infancy in the way that I think about it as far as like bodybuilding. Because yes, I'm a pro, but I'm in a pro division at the very bottom of the division. Like no one knows who I am. You know, as you know, you get what I'm saying. Like I'm not one of the elite yet. So I don't even know what my ending form is going to look like. I just know what I have in my mind as to what I want to look like. You know,
Okay.
I want to be as big as my body will allow without taking away from my beauty without I don't like saying that because it sounds very like cocky, but just I don't want to
I get
lose
that. I get
this,
that. Yeah.
but I want to be massive. I want to do both. So
Right.
I'm
I
gonna,
get that. I get that. Linda Murray is the same way. She didn't want to lose any
yeah,
type
and
of
that,
facial beauty, but she had amazing when she was in fighting trim back in the 90s. I mean, she was considered one of the
yeah,
biggest girls there too.
yes, and I have one of her Women's Physique World magazines from like '91, I think, and it's one of my favorite magazines that I will never get rid of.
So do you consider her to be a role model? Any others
Oh yeah,
in women's bodybuilding? So
as far as women's bodybuilding goes, she would be probably my top influence in that division. My very first female influence in the bodybuilding world was DLB, and I mean, I'm sure she's everybody's,
okay.
but that was when I first started even looking up bodybuilding when I was 23 or 22, in my early 20s. I don't remember what age it was. But when I started looking it up, I was like, oh, wow, I mean, I want to look like that. Obviously, I want to look like my version of that because I'm much larger than her. I think I'm like 6 inches taller than her. So,
Hmm.
but I just I love how pretty she is and also just how jacked she is. So and I've fallen in love with, I mean, uh, Ashley Jones is a huge influence for me. I think she has the most beautiful round muscle bellies, and she's just a beautiful person inside and out, from what I can tell. Um, Julia Fowry is a huge influence for me. I've thought that she was like a Swedish goddess for the very first time I saw her. And she's huge. I mean, like that
Right.
right there,
Hmm.
that's just phenomenal to me. So I like the idea of pushing my body to see what it can do, and the only way in my mind that I can actually do that is by being in a division that doesn't really cap me out on size.
Hmm. I was the same way with Ashley. I first saw her when she was still in WPD. And I
Yeah,
was like, I saw her look. It's like, why is this girl not made the switch? And
yeah,
it's like, I saw that and it's like, okay, but it's like, you're women's bodybuilding all the way. So it was like, I'm glad to see that. And she made the right one because she's doing really, really well.
exactly.
So,
And I do think I've had several judges tell me that I could go either way because of my frame. I'm built, at least from what people have told me, I'm built similarly to like Chelsea Dion. Um, we have kind of that like A-line athletic figure. I'm not like, for my height, I don't think I'm huge yet, but because of my height, I have so much more space to fill it out. So I will be when, you know, as the years progress. It just takes time. There's no way I'm not going to jump on 30 different compounds to get there faster and then run the risk of
right,
killing myself. I'm just not going to do it.
right. Teresa Ivancic has said much the same thing. She said she's like in that gray area between WPD and WBB. She says
Yeah.
he's like she's not exactly huge, big enough for WBB, but
Hmm.
she's too much basically for WPD. So you find
Yeah.
yourself in the same category?
Absolutely. And it's been a struggle of mine because, I worry that the fact that I don't have the type of muscle bellies that Ashley Jones has because of, her insertions and the way she's built. I don't have big Janes. Like, all these women like Martina Lopez, you look at them and they're 5'5" and under, and then there's us taller girls who have the potential to have big bodies, but I'm still not going to look the same type of big. There's no way. I don't have the same build, so I just have to
Hmm.
maximize for what my build will allow me to do.
Exactly. I've got some of your competition history here. It's the 2022 Texas Classic. You won in both women's bodybuilding and women's physique.
Yeah.
2022 North Americans, you placed fifth in heavyweight bodybuilding and third in Class D, WPD. And then the next year, you just stuck with women's bodybuilding, won heavyweight and overall, and then
Hmm.
got your pro card there. And then your pro debut is coming up. Now, a subject that's always been of interest to me, talking with competitors about, and it just really strikes me that younger competitors or newer competitors, they don't talk about this with them that much. And that's the phenomenon known as post-show blues.
Oh, it's
And
bad.
it's like, and now it's going to be a question. What was your first experience with that, and how have you learned since to be able to deal with it? Or what have you found to be the most effective treatment for it for you personally? So if you could just describe what your feelings were like, because
Yeah.
I just recently saw a natural competitor who was in, and she just won her first two shows. But I even in one of the lives she was talking about said you need to watch out for post show blues, and she was like, oh well, I'm good with that and everything. And sure enough, a week later, she's crying.
Yep.
She's upset because the shreds are gone. And it's like, I thought you said you had this under control, but you really didn't. So,
Well, and
what was your experience with that, and then how did you treat it?
my very first experience with that was horrible because it was my very first show, obviously. The coach that I was with at the time did not, either they were unaware, ignorant to that phenomenon, or they just were careless and just thought I could figure it out. But I didn't even know what was going on with me. My hormones were completely out of whack. You know, I kind of was like, what is going on? Like, am I having a weird period thing? I didn't understand
Right,
any of it.
exactly. So,
I wasn't really very didactic, like autodidactic at that time. I wasn't really interested in doing my own research. I was just more like, tell me what to do and I'll do it. Now I'm much more interested in like learning about, all of the aspects of bodybuilding, not just the training and nutrition, but like the psychology behind it is uber important. Um, but yeah, it was bad. I hit a really rough patch. And the worst thing about it was because I didn't have anything put in place for my off season the first time around, I didn't even know what an off season was. Um, I gained like 44 pounds within the
wow.
first 6 weeks of coming out of my show. And so that was awful. I mean, I was swollen, I didn't feel good. I was obviously not shredded anymore. Not to say my first show was that shredded anyways. It's kind of a joke when I look back at it now, but it was rough, I'm not gonna lie. Now though, I have done 8 shows, I think, altogether. I haven't competed all that much because I don't really believe in competing back to back to back. I think it really doesn't allow you to have the growth period that you need to make true changes. But anyways, this last off season after I turned pro, um, my focus shifted completely to my actual health, not just my mental health. And unfortunately, because of the surgeries that I had to have back to back, I had to have 2/3 of my cervix removed, and then like about four
Oh
to six weeks.
my.
Yeah, it's nuts. 4 to 6 weeks later is when I found out that my titanium cage had broken and I had a screw trying to come out of my spine. So I
Oh
had to
my
have,
goodness.
yeah, it was
Mm,
woo, super fun.
my goodness.
But yeah, so I had 2 of those surgeries and I found out that I had the cancerous cells issue. It wasn't like, it was precancerous essentially. So they found these abnormal cells and they wanted to nip it in the bud before it crossed this certain transmission zone in my cervix. So I had to have this like conal surgery to remove it, and I'm good now. Like I haven't had any scares or anything like that. But I found that out 2 weeks before I even went to North Americans this last time. And so it was heavy on my head and it was really hard to focus, but I went through it and I did what I, was intended to do. But yeah, so then fast forward through getting through all those surgeries, and then I also just had I switched careers. I got into an industry that was new to me, and if I'm being honest with you, the first year to year and a half after I turned pro, I was consumed by everything else that was not bodybuilding, and I probably did lose a little bit of size trying to recover from those surgeries, but there's really no way around that. I couldn't do anything,
Right,
you know.
exactly.
So now I'm just
The recovery comes first. Yeah.
exactly. And I'm not going to hurt myself and risk having a third spinal fusion just so I can keep some size. I can get it back. It's just,
Yeah, it'll take a while.
hmm
So now, are you still being coached by Roy Williams?
no.
You're not anymore. And is posing
My
coach
last
still?
coach was Brandon Ray.
I see.
And
Okay.
this time around, I had intended on using Brandon for the longest time. But if I'm being truly honest, part of me wants to see what I can do with my own mind. So I'm going to be coaching myself for this prep.
Okay. All right. Be interesting to see what the end result is going to be. So,
Yeah, I've coached a few athletes and they've done really well. So I'm going to stop playing the imposter syndrome and I'm actually going to do it to myself this time.
so yeah, I did was wanting to ask you about that. I did see that you had competition clients. Do you have any lifestyle clients in addition to that, or are you just
Oh,
focusing on
yeah, I do. I
competition?
have right now, I probably have 6 or 7 local lifestyle clients that I work with. Um, I don't take on very many clients. I wouldn't consider myself an online coach. I mean, I am because I do that, but I don't broadcast it as my primary like source of income or anything like that because I only want to work with people that actually want me to work with them.
Hmm. And that's actually a good thing because a lot of these times you hear complaints about people who've got hundreds of clients is that they'll do cookie cutter stuff. Like they'll give
Hmm.
them a cookie cutter prep or a cookie cutter everything basically. And
Yeah.
there's no
No.
personal connection with them. So it's like, and that makes sense. So it's like the ones that I've found that tend to do the best are the ones that cap their
Yes.
cap their clients at a
Yeah.
certain number. So I'm glad to hear that that's what's happening with you. Now I
Yeah, so
saw
like
that.
right now with my clients that are actually competing, one guy just got off and he's in his off season, and I'm still working with him. He's going to compete again next year, but I have a bikini girl that's going to compete later this year in October, most likely. But if I'm in prep for myself, I'll only have one other client in prep at the same time. I won't take anyone else because that's
Hmm,
not fair to them.
well, that's good because I mean you're concerned with the personal touch. You're not just interested in numbers. You're interested in
Well, and
quality rather than
it's
quantity.
also
Yeah.
I don't want to be one of the pros that everybody goes, "Oh yeah, I met her. She's awful. Like she's not at all who you think she is." Like that's the
Mm.
last thing that I want, you know.
And that's a great attitude to have, though. So
Thank
now
you.
I saw. Now, do you still have your sponsorship with Eminent Nutrition?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
So now, out of all the ones, all the companies that are out there, why them were you interested in sponsorship? Is it just because you like the quality of their products? Real quick, just to announce to everybody, apparently I have to do this. I am not sponsored by anybody. So any companies or organizations I have to mention, I am not sponsored by them. I guess YouTube is requiring me to say that, but why specifically them? Do you just like their products or
Well, I like their products. Yes, they have very good products that I believe are clean and that you know, Casey and Leslie actually go and are involved in the making of every one of their products. They're involved in the tasting, they're involved in the formulation of it, they're involved from start to finish. Um, you know, if they don't like it and they don't think it's going to be a good one, they don't sell it. It's not just about the profit, you know. And also Casey coaches a lot of the people that he sponsors, so he's very involved in everything. He's not just like a third party person like here, put my money into it, but you do it for me. He wants his company to be a reflection of him and Leslie, and they're just really good people and they've also experienced a lot of like crazy traumatic stuff in their life, and I think when you trauma bond with somebody and you share that bond, it's pretty unbreakable. and
yeah, I can definitely see that. I can definitely
and the community that they
relate to
have
that.
built with their athletes, like we all have a group thread and group me, and um, I mean it's just it feels like a big family. It doesn't feel like there's a bunch of toxicity or anything like that, so I
That's
hope to
great.
represent them well.
That's great that you were able to get that type of relationship with a company like that.
Yeah.
Now, I also wanted to cover this. You went from personal training to a roofing company. That
Hmm.
being now, is that home over contractors?
Yes, that's who I'm with
Yeah.
right now.
Why them? Why roofing? It's like, what was it that what? It's like most people when I hear them talk about a roofing job, I said, "Oh, I don't know why I did this," but you would seem to love it. What is it about roofing that
I
appeals to you?
I do like it. It's not even the roofing. I honestly could give a crap less what the product is. I mean, I do care about the roof. I'm not saying I just don't care about that, but that's not what I enjoy about it. I enjoy restoring people's homes. I enjoy the relationships I've made along the way, the friendships, the random people that if I go down to Colleen or Temple now, I can just ring up somebody that I put a roof on and go have lunch with them. Some of them turned into clients of mine that I still coach. I like being of service to people, and I know that I was meant to be of service in some capacity. And actually, I do still train, and I'm about to start training at Metroflex Mansfield because one of my really good friends owns it, and he does not have a strong female personal trainer. So I'm probably going to do a little bit of both. But and the other thing is with the roofing, it allows me to make my own schedule for the most part, and it's very flexible. So, like, for instance, tomorrow I only have 2 appointments in the afternoon. So, it's going to allow me to get my workout in early in the morning with my husband, spend some time with my kids. We're painting. It's not a 9 to 5. I'm home with my kids during the summertime, and the capacity to make money in roofing is pretty high up.
And you definitely need that when it comes to the bodybuilding lifestyle. I mean, just how expensive it is. When you look at how expensive these preps are, I mean,
Mhm.
all the things that go into it. It's nice to have a job that not only allows you that flexibility of schedule, but also is a nice source of employment, a nice source of income.
Yeah. I mean, it's just we have with my family, we have close to $10,000 in bills each month. So it's nice to have a job where, we just got paid and we were able to pay 2 truck payments and, get groceries and get everything that we needed. And then we're good for a little while. And so with the training, it's just going to be a little bit of extra income to serve towards Vegas and all that stuff so we can have fun. And also, I just miss training. I really miss being in the gym training
Hmm.
people. So I figured I'd do that a couple days a week and then, still help my clients with roofing.
And that was what I wanted to talk about next. But first, before I do, just to fill up people in, Brittany was originally going to be going to Romania the week of
Yes.
November 8th. But then I contacted her directly and I mentioned that this has been clear out of the blue in the last month that IFBB Pro Austin Carr, who's got his own show, the Steve Carr Las Vegas Classic, that same weekend, November 8th, he has now officially made that a pro women's bodybuilding show. And also, it is going to be a qualifier for the 2026 Miss Olympia. And so now, for stateside competitors who may not know this, you don't have to necessarily go clear across an ocean, let alone halfway across the continent, to be able to do an Olympia qualifier. There's one now right here in the States. I was wanting to ask you, what impact do you think that's going to have in Romania when more people come aware of this show that's now in Las Vegas? It just seems like, just like yourself, a lot more American competitors may, if they find out about it, if they haven't made any commitments yet, are probably going to want to stay home. I'm just wondering what impact it's going to have on Romania.
I mean, yes, I would assume so. Like my thoughts are, yeah, to save money because just like we said, the sport altogether is just extremely expensive. So why would you spend, 2 to 3 times more to travel to Romania? Unless that's just something that you also had on your bucket list or something to that effect, and you don't have 3 kids that you got to drag along with you, like me. So um and plus my children, my 9-year-old is obsessed with bodybuilding and she thinks I'm a superhero. And she also has just discovered Vegas recently. So when I told her that it was going to be in Vegas, her eyes got like this big around and she was like, "So I'm going to go to Vegas?" And I was like, "Yes, baby, but you're going to go to watch mommy compete and then we'll do some fun stuff." Because, in her eyes, she's like, "Ooh, I'm going to go walk down the strip and I'm going to go do this and this." But
Well, I was going to wrap up with a couple of other questions. Just your thoughts on a couple of things. What are your thoughts on the state of the women's bodybuilding division now? Because it's like you see that it seems like, along with what's now referred to as the muscle divisions, those being women's bodybuilding, women's physique and figure, it just seems like they're getting progressively more pushed out of shows. Do you
yeah.
think that's, I mean, what are some things that you feel need to change or could be changed in order to improve things for the division?
I think it's just going to be that more of us pros and more of us people that have influential platforms. I don't even really consider myself a super influential pro yet, but that doesn't mean I don't want to be. And as soon as I start winning more and actually, getting myself out there more and hopefully get more prize money, I intend to turn right back around and put it back into our division in whatever way I can. And that's something I want to do, because how can I expect for my division to grow and get where it needs to be if I'm not actually trying to help it along the way? And also, I'm hoping that the more, Chelsea, Dion, me, um, some of these other competitors, the more that we get out there and show the world that you can still be big and beautiful, maybe it'll catch on, and maybe they'll start thinking that we actually are a beneficial or an asset to the shows and not a detriment, not something that takes funds away. I'm never gonna be on stage bent over like bikini and wellness girls, and I realize that has that's quite the cash cow, but uh, that's just not. We're gonna have to find other ways to get tickets, I guess.
That was going to be my next question, is the highly controversial subject of the fit model division and how people have such opinions on that. We've got apparently the pro fit model division debuts next year, so they're using this year to fill up their pro ranks for that. What effects do you think that's going to have on the muscle divisions? Do you think that's going to hasten things, or would it have much of an impact the first year, or what are your thoughts?
I don't really know that I'm as concerned about the fit model division and its implications on my division, just because every single person I've talked to across the board that competes kind of thinks that and I'm not trying to be ugly right now, but they just kind of think that it's reaching, you know, and to each their own. I want everybody to compete. I think everyone should do it at least one time. Do I think everyone is going to be competitive? No, I don't think so. But I do think that everyone should just try it because it's an amazing experience, you know. Um, but the fit model division, I'm not even fully clear on what they're looking for, because there's so much similarity between the fit model division and the bikini division that it's hard for me to even see where the lines are drawn.
Right, I get it, because I followed
And
this
that,
now.
again, that's completely subjective, and I don't have any real impact on what they do, so it is what it is in my eyes. But I feel like they're trying to add more and more and more, and then everything's getting blurred, you know. You
Right,
shouldn't have somebody
exactly.
who can go be in 3 divisions and win them all. That's bullshit. Sorry for my language, but
Right.
I just, you know.
But you're seeing it now in the amateur ranks with the fit model division. You're seeing that more and more.
Yes.
I saw
I'm
a girl.
seeing it across the board. I mean,
Yeah.
my competitor Cody, he competed at the oh my gosh, I think it was the Phil Heath. He competed there, or the Ronnie Coleman, one of those. And there was one guy that took all 3 divisions. And I find that so hard to swallow, because there should be some sort of distinguishing factor.
Exactly.
Each one is
Exactly
supposed to
right.
have a certain look, and you can't have a certain look if you win all 3 divisions.
Right. I saw this last year. I couldn't believe this. This is a girl. She showed up with a bodybuilder physique. So it's like, I mean, she was a power lifter like yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, she had serious muscle and such. She entered into bodybuilding, physique,
And
what was
figure.
it, figure, and bikini, and won all 4. I'm
Yeah,
like,
see.
how is that remotely possible? When we have criteria that's
Mhm.
supposed to result in a distinct, separate look from
Yes.
each other,
Yes.
you should qualify for one of those and be disqualified for the other 3.
Yes.
You shouldn't even be allowed in them.
I agree.
So
I agree.
it just blows my mind that that's happening. But that's why you're seeing it on the pro ranks.
Mhm.
Why you're seeing figure competitors look like physique competitors, and physique competitors looking like bodybuilders.
Yeah.
Because this is the environment they're coming from.
And
They've been able to go into anything they want.
It feels
regardless of
like
what
they're
it
just
is.
letting people do that just because they want more money.
Right. Exactly. That's how I see it, because I've followed this now long enough. I remember a time when none of these other divisions existed.
Yep.
That there was only female, and every single time that one of these, I mean, not knocking people who are competing in those, but just the simple fact is that every single time the same excuses or the same rationales that have been used for the creation of the fit model division were there for fitness, and then for figure, and then for physique, and then for bikini, and then for wellness. Same thing.
Yep.
But we keep adding more. So I don't
Well,
know
and
except
also, I guess in my mind, when I think of bodybuilding, I think of bodybuilding in the sense of you want symmetry, you want balance, you want everything developed, right? Well, how are we going to do that if you keep creating divisions that have like, now don't get me wrong, I think wellness girls are absolutely stunning. I think they're beautiful, but you've got like a soccer girl's over freaking muscled up lower body looking like a damn centaur, and then you've got the upper body of a bikini girl.
right. It just,
It
I
just,
don't understand the appeal either, but clearly others do. So
yeah,
otherwise
but
it wouldn't be so
again,
popular.
you know,
So,
it's a business, and I get that from a business standpoint, but from a competitor standpoint, it almost, I will never stop competing, but at this rate, I can understand why people do, because it takes the competitiveness and the fairness and the like the fun out of it. Because you're like, well, shit, if I'm gonna go up against this girl and she looks good enough to beat me in this division, she's probably gonna beat everybody in every division.
right. So I guess I just have a couple other questions here to wrap up. Now, I
Okay.
realize your experience is limited, like your own admission, because you said you have some shows, but you don't consider yourself a top pro. But nevertheless, being an IFBB pro, that puts you in the elite,
Hmm.
puts you in the top class. So for younger competitors who would be interested in going into WBB, or they have this idea, just from my life experience, we have an idea what something is going to be like, but then we actually get into it and we realize it may not be everything that we thought it was going to be. So what some would be some advice that you would have for younger competitors who are interested in going into this, and by which I mean, what are some encouragements that you would give them, things to look forward to and such, but also some warnings, things to avoid, things that they may not be aware are there, but are there and need to be avoided. So what would be some advice that you got in both of those regards?
I would say the things that you look forward to that are just like major bonuses is the experience. Like we've said, it just it shapes you in a way that I don't know that any other sport really can. It'll make you access the part of your mind that you may not be able to access otherwise. I mean, it really does put you deep down in a dark hole, and you have to be able to claw out of that. And see, see your physique come to fruition, but it is grueling, it is tiring, it is it just, you're gonna doubt yourself way more than you're gonna believe in yourself, but you just have to keep pushing. Um, and
So,
and at the end of it, you're gonna be on stage and you're gonna look around and you're gonna be like, holy crap, I brought this amazing package to the stage. Whether I win or not, I trusted the process, I stuck with the journey, and then I made it to the stage.
so
And show
persistence
day
in
is
the
amazing.
so persistence in the face of adversity
Yes,
is key. So I, yeah,
100%.
for so many people I've heard the same thing. So absolutely. And then I guess I have one other question for people like myself who, if someone happens to see you in a gym
Hmm.
and they see you training and such, it's like a lot of people get the impression they want to be able to come up. They may be interested in talking to you, but they're not interested, don't know how to approach, if at all. What are some pointers that you would give concerning gym etiquette involving female bodybuilders at a gym? Because there are some people who say, it's like say, how do I approach them? You don't. It's the
I mean,
answer. But then,
I,
but then others say, no, it just depends on what they're doing and such. So, for people who would be interested in approaching you but are not wanting to be disrespectful or interfere with the
mhm.
process, what would be some pointers that you would give them?
Well, a big thing that I try to do if I'm in a mood or in the zone and I don't want to be interrupted, a lot of times I'll wear my hat or I'll wear a hood or something like that. And I try to kind of stay to myself. I have my headphones in. I usually don't make eye contact. And those are all subtle body language hints that I try to give people to just leave me alone. I will not be rude to you if you come up and say hi to me. But if we're talking and the conversation is cutting into my rest times and I'm in the middle of my workout, I'm just going to politely ask you to wait or, exchange numbers or exchange Instagram handles or something like that so that whatever you want to ask me can be done at a later date. Because again, I have very fixed time periods that I can go train. I have 3 kids to manage and, jobs and husband and so when I get in the gym, I have it in my mind that I'm going to be there for X amount of time. And if you make me later than that, then it might cut into an appointment time or another obligation. So I think just being respectful. And if you do approach a female bodybuilder or a male bodybuilder or anybody, just respect their time.
Great advice. So, well, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. I don't want to keep you longer than you have to be. So, thank you so very much for agreeing to
Thank you
do
for
this.
having me.
I will be mentioning all the companies that you're involved with in the IG post for the advertisement for it. So if people are interested in finding out more about those, go ahead and head over to my
Yeah.
IG, The Art of Female Muscle, and then I'll be posting those there. It's been wonderful for having you. I hope that your pro debut over in Vegas goes very well and wonderful to talk to you.
Thank you
So
so much. It was a great time.
you're very welcome.